up, everyone? What's up? How you doing, ambassadors? Welcome to a new conversation, unapologetic conversation with your host. That's right, your girl Diamond. We are in the building, getting ready to have a deep, deep, troubling conversation. But I welcome you to come on into the room and join this conversation with me so we can just kind of break down our thoughts, feelings about said topic. How are you? Welcome to a new show. Listen, I want to jump right into it. If you're new to the show, then I'm hoping you're a subscriber. Click the subscribe button, click that notification bell, make sure you accept all notifications. That way you know when this show is live. Also, please do me a favor. By all means, know that we're not just here on YouTube where I want you to be, but I want you to know that we're on Facebook, formerly Twitter, now it's X, Instagram, TikTok, and of course this home show. And we always keep a portion of the show to the Q&A part. That way, when you're talking to me, talk to me. If I don't answer, I'm going to answer you in the chat. So just because I don't answer you live, don't mean I won't answer you. Let's dialogue respectfully. And always know that we keep it real here. There is no holds bar about our opinion. It's ours. We own it. We can share it. It's up to you to accept the opinion or not. And know that I'm always going to keep it 100. I am. We can debate, we can disagree, we can agree. Let's just do it with class, integrity. Okay? All right. So thank you so much for being here. I'm truly, 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 truly grateful for this new chat we're about to have. But it's a chat I'm not happy to have. So you saw my thumbnail and you know that I'm about to talk to you about something very hard to talk about. And that is this beautiful woman right here. Sonya, some pronounce it Sonia Massey. I don't even know where I want to start because I'm really filled with a lot of emotions. As I prepared for the conversation, it was hard to put the show together because I want to do it with compassion. I want to do it with integrity. I want to do it in a way that brings honor to her name, as everyone is saying, say her name. I want to, as always, use my platform for the better good, not for the ratings, not to be the number one, but to do good by the topics we're talking about. So we all know on July 6th, this beautiful lady here lost her life senseless only because of what were told that she said. And she said this: I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. Whether she said it in the space of jokingly, nervousness, whatever for whatever reason she said it, she said it. And the officer who didn't have the sense to assess the situation and the content she's using and make sure that one, she's safe and he's safe without taking her life. And I'm just, again, I'm lost for words. I'm lost for words. But again, I want to take my time in this conversation. I want to make sure I do my due diligence in talking about what my thoughts and feelings are as it relates to this, and feelings are as it relates to this topic. What do you say? What do you say? Honestly, what do you say? And if you've heard about this topic, what were your thoughts? How did you feel? What were your struggles with hearing this? Let me know. Let me know. Okay. Sorry, guys. It's not easy to talk about this conversation, but I got a job to do, so let's get to it. Okay. So I want to talk about Sonia Massey, an Illinois woman who, again, lost her life senseless. And this is a repeated thing in the Black community, right? It's a repeated thing. And I can say it's a repeated thing because you don't hear often about other race of people losing their life senselessly, right? They're giving courtesy, respect, compassion when officers have to go into the space where these people are acting out and kind of analyze the situation and then make some kind of decision, right? We see that courtesy oftentimes to people who are not Black. But soon as a Black person is calling for help or in distress or whatever the situation is, and police officers that don't look like us show up to those scenes, oftentimes those individuals, from what we're seeing in media, right? What we see in media, oftentimes we see those same individuals take those people's lives for what? Even before a person can utter the word or they look a certain way, they've lost their life. Breonna Taylor, Eric Gardner, and so many more. Trayvon Martin, fake police officer, not even a cop. I'm sick of repeating the names, not because I'm not want to keep their memory alive. I'm sick of we have to add their name to this list. Why can't we add their names to other things that they're doing in their community for their people, that they're doing in their personal life? Why must we add their name to this kind of list? Help me understand that, because I don't understand it. I don't. I'm struggling to understand it. I am struggling to understand it. I am. I guess, I was not going to, let's see, I don't even have his face. And I don't know if that's a good thing or not. But you saw his face in the thumbnail, so we'll leave his face right there. Let's just leave it there. Okay. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I thought I was like ready to just delve in there and give my opinion. And it's so hard to separate your opinion from your feelings when it relates to topics like this. So I apologize to everyone because I'm not stumbling. I'm feeling. Let the record show. I'm feeling. And if you're not feeling for this woman, her family, that community, then there's something absolutely wrong. It's something absolutely wrong. I know I'm seeing the outrage in the Black community, but I think every race of people should be outraged. And maybe you're not outraged because you're not Black, and maybe you're not outraged because you don't see this happening to your people in your community, in your home. So maybe you don't have that connection, but you can best believe if you're Black, if you're honest, if you are someone who have respect for life, then you should be feeling something. You should be feeling something. So, okay, I did my homework. Look, and when I say I did my homework, I did my homework. And these are pages, not one page. And I wanted to look at the person who took the life of Sonia Massey for no reason. Because he said he was afraid or he felt threatened. He felt that his life was at risk. So the sad thing is I went and looked Sonya up, Miss Massey up on Facebook, Instagram, and so many people have similar names. And I was able to find a page where there was a lot of videos of her and just living life, taking a helicopter ride, riding in a Corvette with the top down, hearing the wind in her hair. And I saw a picture of her son. My condolence to you, sir, for the loss of your mom and her parents. I'm truly, truly sorry. But so I saw her page, but I was looking to read more about who is Sonia Massey. What was her life like? And I couldn't find a lot, right? Just to break down. And you got to be careful about taking things from the web because many people just, especially Wikipedia, people get to add their jargon to what many people think is true But I will tell you the little bit that I found and it seemed to be making sense is on July 6, 2004, Sonia Massey, a 36-year-old black woman, was shot and killed in her home by Deputy Sean Grayson. On the Sangamon County Sheriff official website, it says other things, but this is in the Woodside Township of Springfield, Illinois. Here's just a little bit, and I'm going to be repeating some things because it's in different places, but you'll see there's a continual supporting information. So, Massey called 911 about possibly a prowler. Grayson and an unidentified deputy responded to the home to investigate the situation. And here where everything goes crazy. So I was looking here, and that's what I saw about Sonya. But this is what we're finding out about the officer, a former officer, because he has now been fired, terminated, let go. This is what it's saying. Springfield, Illinois, the deputy sheriff who fatally shot Sonia Massey in her Illinois home last month said to believe that when the black woman who called 911 for help unexpectedly said, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus," that she intended deadly harm, according to the deputy. File report released that following Monday. The deputy sheriff who fatally shot Sonia Massey in her Illinois home thought he was at risk because she uttered the words, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus Christ." I rebuke you in the name of Jesus Christ caused her to lose her life because he felt threatened. He stated, "I interpret this to mean that she was going to kill me," Grayson wrote, adding that when he drew his pistol and Miss Massey ducked behind the counter that separated them, he moved around the obstacle, feeling that she was going to grab a weapon. Grayson, a 30-year-old Sangamon County Sheriff deputy, faces first-degree murder, aggravated battery, and official misconduct charges in the death of the 36-year-old Springfield woman on July 6th, which has now drawn nationwide protests over the killing of a black woman by police in their homes. And again, we're talking about multiple women and people killed in their homes by law enforcement. Grayson has pleaded not guilty, his attorney said, declining to comment on the such statement. Massey's family has called for recognition of the resignment of the Sheriff Jack Campbell, who refused to step down, arguing that the problem in Grayson's past should not preclude the law enforcement assignment. The family has a civil rights attorney, Mr. Ben Crump, on call, which means is he is supporting this family and getting justice. Let's break this down. So this officer who responds to this woman home in the wee hours of the morning because she felt that there was a prowler in her home, around her home, whatever. He and another unidentified officer goes to the home to investigate. She steps out on her porch to have a conversation. Somehow they return inside her home. And as she's sitting down, he points out to her, "You might want to remove the boiling water," or whatever that is, on the stove. And Mrs. Massey gets up to go remove what it is on the stove, right? And in doing so, per his directive, he feels threatened. Well, he knew that something was boiling over on the stove because he saw it on the stove. Why didn't you just go move it? If you thought that that might be something she would use to hurt you, why didn't you just move it, Sean? You do not deserve the word deputy, officer, or anything like that. You absolutely don't deserve that. So I'm not going to give you that courtesy and respect because you didn't give it to Miss Massey when you were going to her home and you were supposed to be in the position of serving and protecting. Okay. He says that Sonia turned to face me holding the pot. I did not know what type of liquid was in the that was boiling, Grayson wrote. This is a report that he had to write his statement about what happened at Mrs. Massey's home. I advised Sonia to put the boiling liquid down. Sonia stated she was going to rebuke me in the name of Jesus. She stated this twice. I interpret this to mean that she was going to kill me. Massey family has said that Miss Sonia Massey struggled with mental health issues. She met the deputy on the front door by repeating, "Please God," and inside the house asked Grayson to pass her Bible. Upon hearing this religious admonishment, which is written here, Grayson then drew his pistol and barked commands to the top of explicit sounds. Massey ducked behind the counter, rose up, and appeared to grab the pan, began coming in his direction. Before diving for cover, Grayson said that she stepped towards and around the counter, or he stepped towards and around the counter, and Massey slightly wary that she might have had a hidden weapon behind the counter. Now, there's a lot of loopholes for me in this statement that he wrote to cover himself. She ducked behind the counter. You didn't know what was in the water. You knew something was boiling on the stove because you saw it and you directed her to go to remove it. If you thought that this woman who asked you to pass you her Bible and that she was saying religious words that made you a little weary, why would you put her in the position to have access to something that could cause you bodily harm? Why didn't you ask her what was in the pot and then you turned it off and moved it so that you can keep everything assessed and safe? I can tell you why, because your history tells us a lot about you as a former military person who was let go from his position. Also, someone who had been having legal issues, multiple DUIs, and addressed by other police departments that you were let go to later get hired at another place, and we will talk about that later. There's a lot of write-up about you, Sean, and your behavior that you should have never, ever had an opportunity to get into a position that says you are going to serve and protect that community. You should have never had the opportunity to don a law enforcement outfit, carry a weapon when you had your history, sir. This woman had a history noted that she struggled with mental health, and you have a history of criminal behavior. So who do we look at questionable? I'll tell you who. You. You are the one we should be looking at questionable, because you should have not had an opportunity to carry a weapon, serve a community that you already see people questionable. And you know something else? I never understood this. I never understood why people had the opportunity, especially serve and protect, an opportunity to come from an affluent neighborhood where you don't see people that look like you, go into that other neighborhood to serve and protect, because that's what you're saying you're taking the oath for. Yet you don't know how to intertwine with the community. You don't know how to dialogue with the community. You don't know how to really assess a different demographic, ethnic group of people in this community. Why would you go to a community that you're supposed to be serving and protecting, but yet you don't respect, understand, can communicate with? Like, why go and serve? I'll tell you why. Because this system, the law enforcement system, don't find fault with when one person who come from a totally different background never engage in this new community where they want to be hired, go into this community donning an outfit that's supposed to protect us, carry a weapon that you should use at discretion, and only when You need to protect not just you, but everyone in that space. Why are so many people willing to leave that community, come and work in this community, make the money here, and go back home and take that money there? But you don't care about the people in the community that you're supposed to be serving and protecting. You don't give two kumquats about those people. You don't. But yet you officers want us to believe that we are safe in your presence, that we absolutely have nothing to fear. Nothing. We have nothing to fear at all. All we have to do is just trust that you are the officer that's going to do your job. And most of you do it poorly. Okay, you're just seeing some comments from me. We're trying some things out. So most of you do it poorly. But yes, somebody gave you an opportunity to get a job here among people that you don't have no respect for. Okay. What do we know about Sean? Huh? I did some looking. So I looked, the US Today website has some information. And it says, okay, it's so much. So much. Okay. Sean Grayson fatally shot 36-year-old Massey at her home when he and another deputy responded to a 911 call about a possible intruder on July 6th. While Grayson did not turn on his body cam until after he shot Miss Massey, the other deputy body cam captured the incident on video. I decided not to post the video because it's so sensitive. Yeah, it's just, if you want to see it, and I caution you, if you're not in a good space mentally, just don't go watch it. Don't go watch it. The footage sparked national outrage, renewed calls for police reform, and a strive to make changes as it relates to police officer killing people in their homes, such as Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, and many more. Grayson, 30 years old, was fired from his post after he was indicted on multiple charges, including murder. He was open and readily to plead not guilty and remain in jail without bond. An attorney representing Grayson did not immediately respond to today's request for a comment. So we still don't know what the officer's attorney is planning to do, what his thoughts are about this situation. Furthermore, it says Illinois Police Department, which initially planned to fight Grayson firing, decided Tuesday not to pursue his reinstatement. So this police department was going to fight the firing of this officer who killed this woman. He didn't have his body cam on. He used poor judgment. He wasn't able to assess the situation without jumping to a reaction really quick to make sure that she was safe, he was safe, and the other officer in the home was safe, right? He didn't do that. He drew his weapon, thought he was at risk, and he killed her. He didn't even try to wound her. He killed this woman. Grayson was charged. Another thing, Grayson was discharged from the Army after misconduct described only as serious offenses, according to his personal file obtained by the State Journal Registry, part of the U.S. Today's network. While Grayson was in the Army, he was charged with driving under the influence on August 10, 2015. About online records listed Grayson address as Fort Junction, Kansas. Grayson was stationed at Fort Riley, Kansas, among other places. Grayson's former first sergeant and wrote a recommendation letter on his behalf so that he can get a job at the Auburn Police Department. How do you do this? How do you how do you write a recommendation letter when you look back at the person's history and see, whoa. If I write this letter and you have misconducts in your past and you don't have this exemplary current position now, how am I writing you to get another letter? I can tell you how you do that, because you write the other letter and says, well, this is not our problem anymore. You go someplace else. You be somebody else's problem. And that problem end up turning out to be that person taking somebody else's life. And you, sir, could have not taken that position. You could have said, I'm not going to actually write this letter. I think you need to do this on your own without my recommendation. If you think you're a good cop, go sell yourself to another police department. But I can't put my Johnny Hancock on a letter stating that I believe that you would do your due diligence to serve and protect that community. Sir, you could have taken that position, but you didn't. You didn't. An Army spokesperson said in an unsigned email to U.S. Today that discharge information cannot be released, saying it would violate federal privacy law. Well, why should we protect his privacy when he didn't respect the life of Miss Massey? Why should you even have any privacy once you kill somebody senseless? The spokesperson added that Grayson served in the regular Army from May 2014 to February 2016 and only obtained a second most junior ranked private first class title. Grayson pleaded guilty in 2 DUIs before he was hired by law enforcement. Less than a year later, in July 2016, Grayson was charged with a second DUI according to online records. He pleaded guilty to both cases, records show. The county sheriff, Jack Campbell, in a statement email last week said the sheriff officer understood the serious misconduct referenced in Grayson's Army personal file as it relates to the DUIs. Asked on the employment application of the Auburn Police Department if he had been convicted of, charged with, or was currently waiting trial for any crime greater than a minor traffic offense, to include driving while under the influence, intoxicated. Grayson answered, no, I have only been arrested and charged for a DUI. Grayson worked at 6 different law enforcement agencies in 4 years, according to his personal file and the Illinois Law Enforcement Training and Standard Board. How is that possible? How is that possible? When you talk about police reform, baby, if we don't need one, we need one. And in the description, for those who reside in New Jersey, I have put the link there. Please do yourself a favor, educate yourself about reforms as it relates to law enforcement, and ask yourself, what do you think we need a reform in? Ask yourself that question. And I would be very shocked if you can't come up with an answer. If we don't need police reform, I don't know who do. Too many Black people are dying by people who said they're going to protect them. Police officers kicking down people's door, shooting them while they're in the bed sleeping. Police officers going to people's house to assess the situation, and the person is calling for help, you shoot them senseless. I don't get it. And listen, save your comment if you have any view that you want to share with me about my reaction on this show about this situation. Yes, I'm reporting the situation via this podcast, but I am when I tell you I am so infuriated by this situation, I don't know what to do. When you talk about trauma in the Black community, baby, we see trauma all the time. How could you recover from trauma when you're constantly in it? See, trauma don't have to happen directly to you for you to be traumatized. If it's happening around you, something connected to you, you can be traumatized by this. We're the white people saying they're traumatized. And if you are, I want to hear you, white people, Asian people. I want to hear you, Hispanics. I want to hear Latino community, Mexican community. I want to hear you say that you are traumatized by the black people being killed in the streets in their home for no reason. I want to hear you. We can't wait till things settle down, the dust starts settling, and then we go back to our prospective lives and say, oh, wow, that's over. You know, that happened. Where is the trauma that's causing you to speak out? Must it happen to you and your family before you're traumatized? You're not traumatized by it happening to a human being? Okay, I'm still on this outright this writing about Sean. I just don't even want to give him no respect. I don't want to call him by his last name. I don't want to say sir, former officer. I don't even want to say that. I just want to call him Sean. An average Sean who had a job and failed at his job multiple times. Okay. During his first year as an officer, Grayson bounced around 3 Central Illinois police departments. His time at several of the agencies overlapped as he worked part-time before obtaining a full-time position with the Auburn Police Department. In May 2022, Grayson went to Logan County Sheriff's Office before he was hired by the Sangamon County Sheriff's Office a year later. While at Logan County Sheriff's Office, a supervising officer rebuked Grayson for allegedly lying in reports and showing a general lack of integrity, according to the records obtained by CBS News. The sheriff and I will not tolerate lying or deception, is what is written. The officer can be heard telling Grayson later, adding, officers like you have been charged and they end up in jail. Oh, this is good to know. Grayson was also accused of abusing his power and harassing a couple, and he pulled over and arrested during a traffic stop, CBS reported, citing a disciplinary file from the Logan County Sheriff's Office. The file noted that the alleged allegations by the couple against Grayson were deemed unfounded. Not surprising. Later, Grayson pursued him and called for several other people to be addressed, arrested, or harassed. Why? Why? For what? Here's something here. Meredith, someone, described Grayson as steaming mad and said that he flagged the innocent of Logan the Police Department in their records. Well, why is he flagged there? He's acting out like a bully, Meredith told the outlet. Speaking about Grayson, he was wanting me to do stuff that I was not okay with. The Sangamon County Sheriff officer said that in a statement that he was not provided with any information regarding Grayson's alleged dishonesty and misconduct during his time at the Logan County Sheriff's Office. Why is that? Why didn't this one department flag him and state that he is unhireable as it relates to being a police officer? Somebody answer that. We were not provided any such information Grayson's former employer, nor from any crediting agency. We cannot comment on whether the information is accurate or it is not. Look, I'm reading that to you because I want you to understand, although I have a real human reaction to the situation, I'm looking at what's documented here. And what I'm looking at is this is someone who should have not been hired. They should have not been hired. When you have one misconduct, but now you got six police departments stating that you overlapped your employment with them and during your tenure with them, that you have had some kind of dishonesty, misconduct, behavior, why was people willing to hire you? And someone mentioned to me about police officers and how it's so easy for a person to get a police officer job because the pay isn't good upon going into. You don't have to have a college degree to become a law officer, right? They're willing to throw a uniform on you, a gun on your hip until you hit the beat, right? So that you could learn how to be a police officer. Keyword, learn how to. Well, you should be learning that before you become an officer, right? You should have some kind of in-depth education before you are allowed to carry a gun. I was also curious about what kind of steps do they take? I mean, I'm talking about an assessment of someone who wants to be a police officer. So I did some research and I looked up on the www.newyork.gov site where it's an assessment. And here's some questions, right? What does a medical assessment consist of when it comes to someone who's trying to be an officer? They got some things here, and I'll just read some of them. A visual test. Candidates' vision must be 20/30 or better, correct? In that state, right? So you got to have a corrected eye vision, or you must come in the doors with 20/30 or better. Hearing tests, blood pressure, right? These are things that they are looking at before you could be considered a police officer. Some people ask, should I bring my medical records with me on the initial assessment? Although it's a good idea to have your medical records ready, do not bring them to the initial assessment. Well, how do we know that the police department looked at their medical record before they came, or their mental record before they came? Here's some other questions. What are the requirements to become a police officer? Here are some of the requirements. Here are their answer. Requirements for a position with the police office are as follows. Qualified age. Minimum age of appointment is 21 years. 21! Okay. 21 years old. However, candidates are eligible to take the police officer entries exam at 17 and a half years old. Candidates may register for the entrance exam up until their 35th birthday. Education. You must earn You must earn a 60 college credit with a minimum of 2.0 GPA from an accredited institution or 2 year of active military service in the U.S. Army Force in order to have an appointment and have a title of law enforcer officer. Residency. You must also be a United States citizen, have a valid driver's license, and live in one of the city's 5 boroughs. We're talking about New York specifically, guys. How much notice will I need to give before entering the next academy? We don't care about that. We don't care about what it costs for you to become an officer. Taking the exam. How do I register to take the exam? Will I know my score? We don't care about that. Character assessment. This is what we care about. What does it mean when an investigator conducts a background check? Here's the answer. Investigators conduct background checks to verify that an individual who, by their claiming to be who they say they are. In addition, the background checks allow investigators to confirm if the applicant has a criminal record, history of disrespect for law, a tendency towards violence, and or termination from a job for poor behavior. And this was highlighted here, guys. I didn't even have to highlight this. So, what happened with Sean? And why was it, when it relates to poor behavior, not spread to all the police departments he went to get employment at? Tendency towards violence, why was that not shared with all the police departments he looked to get employment by? Criminal history, why isn't that not made public so that we know this person serving in this community either don't have a background, a criminal background, or they are squeaky clean? Why is that not made public? I want someone to answer these questions. I really do. Does any prior substance use, including marijuana, prevent someone from being hired for the police department? Prior use is not an automatic disqualifier and will be considered with a total background check on the person who's looking to be employed. You must pass a drug screening prior to the appointment, sorry. Once hired by the police department, strictly prohibited from drug use, including marijuana. Now, we know for doggone sure that police officers serving are people who are not serving the day of duty. There's officers out there that engage in marijuana use. We know that, especially now that they've made marijuana a legal substance to use recreationally, socially. We know that they're using. If I have been arrested or received traffic tickets or criminal court summons, will this prevent me from being hired as a police officer? The answer is the only statutory disqualifier to becoming a police officer are felony convictions, a domestic violence misdemeanor conviction, or a dishonorable discharge from the military. So am I misunderstanding that Sean was not dishonorably dismissed from the military? Was this just a let go, like you can just leave? Like, what was it? I don't know. If you know the answer, please drop it in the comments. Moving on. Will a poor score grade prevent me from being hired by the police department? You are required to have a 2.0 overall GPA in your college course. I'm not knocking people with a 2 point something. I'm not, because there's some smart people life-wise that have 2 point GPAs. But should we be thinking about requiring a higher GPA? I mean, like, what are your thoughts about that? Let's move on to a psychological assessment, which in my point of view, Sean would have never passed this. And I'm a counselor. He would have never passed. What does the psychological evaluation entail? The written test is a full day of paperwork administered by a group setting, which includes autobiographical questionnaire, symptoms of inferior, and 2 longer objective personnel inventory measures. The oral interview is a one-on-one education with a psychologist where they will ask you questions about your educational history, employment history, psychological history, medical history, legal history, social relationship, and if there's any areas of concern or areas that need to be addressed before being offered a position. Our best advice for the written test or oral interview is to come prepared. Bring a resume, transcript, etc. Be honest and open. Be yourself. Well, we know 2 things. Sean wasn't being himself because the police department is saying that they would have not hired someone with this background. And the other part is that we know that Sean is a habitual liar. If I go to therapy, counseling, or have been in therapy or counseling in the past, would that prevent me from being hired by the police department? We understand that seeking therapy or counseling is a healthy and adaptive choice. We do not disqualify candidates simply for attending therapy or counseling. We will want we will want to understand more about the circumstances which led you to seek therapy or counseling and how it went or what was the focus about. If I am on antidepressants or will this prevent me from being hired? There are no medical medications that would automatically disqualify you from being hired by the police department. However, any medication used must be addressed and assessed and evaluated closely. We would need to understand the reasons for which you are taking prescribed medications, the symptoms which the medication may cause, and how the medication will impact you during your tenure here on the job. So, I wanted to take my time and read this stuff to you guys, right? Because I want to know what a person has to go through before they can be offered a position as a police officer. And what I'm finding when you look at different states, because different states have different regulations as it relates to people being hired as law enforcement, what they would qualify or disqualify that person being able to get the job. And I'm saying to you that I don't understand how many people get hired to be an officer. I sit and I assess people daily. And in my job, I see so many things that are so questionable. Like, oh, well, the person needs to address this before they can do that. This doesn't seem like a good thing for them. This environment seems to impact their mental status. They don't seem to understand cognitively situations and assess the situation in a healthy way for themselves. Like, I do this all the time, right? Let me be clear and on the record. I do not assess people who are looking for positions to be police officers. I don't do that. I don't. But we all should be assessing situations. So you don't need a degree to assess a situation or someone who may not be in your best interest or serve your best interest. I'm just saying. We are being bamboozled by policies and systems that are in place, again, when it comes to people who want to be hired to serve the community. These establishments, these institutions are saying that we can trust these individuals who are hiring these people to serve and protect. Yet they are very quick to let go, fire, allow them to take their pension and all this money they earn and go someplace else. We're not going to stop you from going someplace else, but we can't have you here doing what you're doing. Stealing, lying, raping, killing. Because if you do your homework, you'll see a lot of police officers in uniform got these tagged to their name. Miss Massey should have never lost her life in her home when she was calling for help. Immediately, when she's saying something that just doesn't make sense, and maybe for him, I plead the blood of Jesus, didn't make sense for him, he should have immediately kicked into, let me do a mental assessment of this situation before I make any quick judgment or reaction to the situation. He should have been able to tap into, assess, is this woman mentally challenged? And if she is, how can I make sure she's safe and I'm safe? I'll tell you why he wasn't able to do that. Because he didn't have the education or training. There's nothing I read that says that Sean Grayson was trained in mental assessment of individuals who are at risk. He wasn't trained. And nothing about his past that he was trained. So we, again, continue to lose people senseless because people don't know how to do an effective job with the kind of climate we live in today. There should be no reason why someone who is in mental distress call for help, and the first thing the person thinks to do is, if I feel I'm at risk, I'm going to shoot the person. I'm going to take their life. That should not be the first go-to. If you're mentally incompetent to walk in a uniform and carry a weapon, you should not be given an opportunity to serve and protect the community. If you don't know how to deal with your own stuff, how are you going to go into a community helping people deal with theirs to de-escalate the situation, to make sure people are safe, people can go home alive, right? You're not unaliving these people. And I ask all police departments and people who serve in those communities, you don't think black people should be upset and outraged? You don't understand why a person of color, when you approach them, when you're following them, when you're speaking to them in such tone that they don't become afraid and fearful of their life? You don't consider the fact that the person you approach may think that me approaching them just to assess the situation, that person's probably already thinking, I'm going to take their life from them. You're not going to think that? That's not something you're considering? And this oath that the Brotherhood in blue, whatever your uniform color is, they take because you don't want to be a snitch. You don't want to lose the opportunity to be employed someplace else. You sit silent and you watch all of these things happen. And you should know that you are just as guilty with filthy hands as the person who pulls the trigger. We have a right to be upset. We have a right to be angry. We have a right to be just untrusting of the police. And I have family members who are in law enforcement. I have friends who are in law enforcement. And I do hear often they say, Diamond, you don't necessarily understand because my husband, significant other, my loved one, they serve in that position. And this is what they're telling me is happening. And these are the things they face. And I get it. I don't take that away from those people saying that that's their experience. But the experience that's loud and deafening is black people dying at the hands of police officers. That's louder than what you're telling me. And we need things to change. We need something to look absolutely different. Now that we're coming up into a new election, whatever, well, look, I just said on the other show, Donald Trump is not for me because I think he wants to give immunity or give a little pat on the wrist for those who break the law during their job, right? Why not? He broke the law during his job and he was given a waiver. He was like, you're not going to be held accountable for that. And he want that to be the standing law. So, yeah, I don't even trust these politicians who don't see black people as people. They see us as disposable. And our lives don't matter. And that's bothering. That's bothering some. It bothers me. It makes me very ill and very hurt. And we need change. So please consider this. Police reform. We need it. And we need it more than ever. We need to stop seeing people die when they're calling for help. We need it. Look, I didn't want to spend too much time. This is a heavy topic to talk about. I did a lot of in my feelings about this because it's so hard to just separate the two. It really is. I think I would have, and maybe I would have not been okay having an on-air conversation with someone else and let them talk about how they feel about it. I'm just impacted by the whole thing. I'm impacted by the whole thing. I'm tired of hearing about this, and we need change. And I'm asking you, as you go to the polls, and I'm hoping that you will go to the polls in November, that you would think about that, starting with your local officials. And if they're not standing for the position of Black Lives Matter. And maybe you don't like that slogan. But for me, it's not a slogan, it's the truth. My life matter. And people that look like me, identify Black, their lives matter. And if your life matter and you're not Black, okay, I agree. Your life matter too. But I'm not going to override your life over my life. My Black life matter. And I need to see change. So Kamala, you're going into office. We're claiming that, right? And I'm going to need that to be one of the top things on your list. Law enforcement reform at the highest. There needs some changes. There need to be some changes. All right, guys. Thank you so much for allowing me to vent my feelings, read the data to you, the information to you. To the Massey family, my condolences are deeply, deeply extended to you and everyone connected to you. There are no words. There are no words. There are no words for what you are going through right now. But I want you to know that you are in my prayers. And I plead the blood of Jesus. Absolutely. I stand in solidarity with Miss Massey. And I'm glad this looks like this. I do. I plead it. All over the situation, I plead it. I'm praying for you. All right, ambassadors, thank you so much. Sorry for the hard hitter, but we need to have this conversation. It's uncomfortable, but we need to be talking about it. We do. Please post your comments. What are your thoughts? Please share the content with other people. Get them involved. Let them post a comment about what they think about this situation. And we can only have healing when we start addressing the situation. We can't turn our backs and pretend this is not happening until it happens to you or someone in your community. We need to understand that we are more connected than we are separate. So let's stand united. All people of all race and gender. Stand united. Not just for Miss Massey, not for George Floyd only, not for Eric Garner only, not for any of the other people who lost their lives, but we're going to stand together in solidarity for all lives and demand that police stop killing the innocent. Thank you so much. Be well. I wish you the best. And I'll see you on the next show. Monday, what time? 6 p.m. If you missed the show, go into the archives, click the live button, and just check out some of the other shows that we're talking about. Thank you so much. Be well, and I'll see you next time. Peace.